I'm certain, like all of you, we're very much focused on the catastrophe in the Gulf and how that is going to continue to affect the life of this great nation and, frankly, the world. It feels like our country is bleeding, and my heart certainly goes out to the families of those lost in the catastrophe, and most certainly to the people now directly impacted in Louisiana and the other Gulf states. But we have to be certain that we do what we have to do to protect our great state of New Jersey. I've had hearings recently where Commissioner Martin of the DEP has come to allow my committee, as I'm chair of the Committee on the Environment and Solid Waste, to know of the preparedness that's ongoing out of DEP in the eventuality of that spill making its way up the East Coast. Now, we shouldn't be overly concerned about the direct impact in New Jersey today, because first and foremost, in the worst case scenario, it will be the fall before the spill might get anywhere near to us. Secondly, it's very, very unlikely from a scientific perspective that this will ever happen. And third, if it does, it'll be a lot different as to what we're looking at now. It'll more be in the form of tar balls and something that's not as challenging as the sheen of oil and the various plumes at different depths that are currently the challenges in the Gulf. That having been said, it's serious. New Jersey has over $40 billion of revenue each year in the industry that we deem that amorphous industry of tourism combined with the seafood industry. So that must be protected, let alone our quality of life and all else that goes with the importance of the Jersey Shore. Now, we will continue through this summer and beyond to monitor every several weeks not only the events, of course, in the Gulf, but how the changes in those events might eventually affect New Jersey. Very important not only to coordinate with DEP and all that scientific news, but to make certain that we work with the Office of Emergency Management and the state police as they will effectuate any rescue plan, if you will, for our state should that happen. Now, there's just a couple other things I'd like to talk about, and that's the long term. Several weeks before this catastrophe, when President Obama was considering lifting the ban of offshore drilling on the Atlantic coast, I came out as the chair, and because it was my opinion that that was the inappropriate thing to do. And I'm sorry that the catastrophe in the Gulf has happened to hopefully accentuate that point, that it's just very, very dangerous for a lot of reasons. And so hopefully President Obama will reconsider. In the long run, that will be the case. I plan and have introduced bills in the legislature that will hopefully become our law this fall that will keep DEP from permitting all the things that would have to happen, so to the extent that our state has control, that we'll never see drilling off of our coast. And again, we'll continue to monitor the progress to be certain that we're ready should this happen. Just a couple final thoughts on the bigger picture of this. First and foremost, when you're going a mile into the ocean and then 2 miles further beyond that to find oil, that should say something as it relates to the extent that we have to go to get our fix, if you will, of fossil fuels. That has to be changed, and maybe that will be the good that will come out of the tragedy of the Gulf, is that we really do need to focus on technologies that are already there, hybrids and others, particularly with motor vehicles that take up so much of our fossil fuels, to start to change that behavior. Secondly, really someone has to pay for this, not in the sense of BP, they certainly should, but there weren't shut-off valves. That the technology is in place, and for some reason BP and this particular rig got a pass on that. And I want to know why. Years ago in New Jersey, when ill-intended people would just take things that they knew were harmful for the environment and would just dump them into the streams and into our land, they were made to pay for that criminally. And without casting aspersions or stones, there needs to be justice as it relates to this event, so it's never repeated again. And finally, it's all of this. It's easy to cast stones, but in a part, I, you, all of us are part to blame. When you're watching this, the more than likely thing is that you're going to get in your car and drive off somewhere, just like I am. And so it's time for us to modify our behaviors. It's time for us to understand the consequences of the actions of not moving away from fossil fuels, and sadly we're learning that lesson now. So that will be the good to come of this. In the interim, we'll be certain to be vigilant, and I'll be updating you throughout the summer as it relates to our continued efforts to make sure that New Jersey is prepared in the eventuality of the tragedy becoming directly onto our shores. Thank you.